Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we're now into week 2 of Combiner Month. And we're going to show off this week the first Autobot Combiner, the 1986 Air Warrior Superion. Superion first appeared in 1986 on the toy shelves. He would also be available in 1987. He would be discontinued in 1988, and we did not get a replacement for him. Superion is, of course, made from the aerial bots, so he is comprised of 5 airplanes. So that makes him a much valued addition to the Autobot ranks, as they did not get quite the sizable air force that the Decepticons had. So that always makes them in demand. But is Superion worth all the hype? Let's find out. Now, one thing I do definitely want to point out to you is that Superion is not as well balanced as many of the other combiners were. You may not be able to notice it from this front angle, but he does tend to pitch in a direction. Let's turn him to the side and... Whoa, see folks, he does pitch a little bit. He's a little bit too back heavy. Of course, part of the problem for that is these pieces down here, where the legs connect into the feet of the body unit, Silverbolt. Because of the way those feet are designed, they do hold on there they do connect rather loosely. And so the fit isn't quite as snug, or at least the connection here is pretty snug, but since this black piece here is a totally separate piece from the surrounding area, it does tend to get looser over time, and it does cause him to topple over backwards. So if you want to display your Superion, I would suggest he stand against a wall or some more stable, heavier transformers so he doesn't fall over backwards. As far as articulation goes, he's pretty much standard for all the combiners, in the fact that you can rotate the guy at the shoulder all the way around. How well that works out depends on how loose the figures are as well. As you can see, he dropped a fist. This one that I've had tends to lose a little bit more. But of course, the way the guys are positioned here at the legs, yeah, he lost the foot pad there, but the way the foot that's positioned, he can bend at the knee a little bit. We will attempt to put the foot back on. He's not very cooperative today, folks. As you can see, he can do a basic kick. Get back on your foot stand. That's a problem that I've had with mine since childhood. He does tend to... that foot stand has never stayed on. I don't know if that's a common problem with everybody else and theirs, but that's always been a flaw in mine. Okay, next thing, let's show you how to build this mechanical monstrosity. We'll start by forming the body. Of course, for that we have to use Silverbolt, being the largest of them. To get Silverbolt ready, you want to make sure that his arms are pointing straight down, and you're going to push the fists back into the arm. And then next, you will fold his feet up into the legs, like so. And then you will pull the legs out to the side and bend them up. Pretty much put him in a spread leg position, like so. And then, of course, at this point, you can also add on the extra pieces. Like, say, place the Superion head right over top of his head. This white chest shield here, it connects through a large button here on the backside, and as you can probably tell, it goes right into this large hole. You'll have to shift the red plate on Silverbolt a little bit. Just get that in. Put the head back on. And then lastly, you got this red hip shield. It just connects the two posts inside it right there. They slide into the little slots right above here on the chest shield. It's not a very snug fit, so like you saw earlier, be prepared for it to fall out on you if you're not careful. But there you go, body's ready. Now to form the legs, we're going to use, like the instructions show, we've got slingshot and fireflight. We're going to use them as the legs. First thing you want to do is make sure they are both in robot mode, like you see here. Then all you got to do to get them ready is fold their arms in to their sides. Have them stand stiff like the perfect soldier. Soldier standing at attention. Just exactly like that. And then you will get the foot stands. As you can see, they are slightly different in the position of where the post is, but they also have an R and an L molded into the top of them. Underneath, they look almost exactly the same. There's a number 2 in the center of mine. I don't know if that's coming off well in the camera. The only real difference between the two is the position of the hole, the small hole where the post is. But otherwise, all you got to do with these is insert their post into the hole featured at the bottom of the robot. Just exactly like that. And there you go. The legs are ready. Now, lastly, to make the arms, we will be using Air Raid and Skydive. And again, like with the others, they have to be as the robots. What you're going to do for them is exactly what you did for the feet. Is that you're going to fold their arms in. Make them stand stiff like a perfect soldier. Stand at attention, boys. Then now to finally get them ready, you would basically grab onto their heads and bend them downward like so. That'd be the case for all of them. The only exception, of course, is Slingshot here, because he has an extra panel on his chest. You'd have to pop that down first, and then fold his head down if you'd rather use him as an arm. But then to finally get these guys ready, you'll need to attach the fists. Give you a good look here at these fists. And of course, turn them around to the back side, and you'll notice that just like the feet, they have an R and an L molded right on top of them. So you can easily tell where they go. You want to pivot the jet to the side and just insert the fist into the hole at the bottom of the robot. And then there you have it. The arms are ready. Okay, now to do the final assembly, we got the two legs standing right here. Their heads there will connect into these holes down here at the bottom of Silverbolt's feet. Now you want to be careful doing this. Since the smaller robots, especially that have been played with a lot, they tend to be a little loose in the hip area, so they may slide up on you. So I recommend holding him off ground to connect the legs in, so that you don't end up inadvertently shrinking your Superion. Be gentle when inserting. There we go. Gotta make sure he's upright, the way you want him to be. And then next, you'll take the arms and connect their robot heads into these holes up here in Silverbolt's shoulders. Just exactly like that. Then the last thing to do is attach this big black gun, the electrostatic discharger rifle. You'll want to insert that into either fist. And normally it wouldn't matter, but the fist does sit kind of low on the aerial bots. So it does make it a little bit of a challenge to insert it beforehand. You'll want the fist inserted, then the gun. Not putting the gun in the hand and then attach the hand. And there you go. One complete Superion. Now we've shown you all the pieces to build the combiner. Other parts that are included would also be this launching ramp. It's a solid white piece of plastic. You got a little post down here on the bottom. I guess you could insert this in Silverbolt's shoulder and be an impromptu shield. Biggest thing you want to watch out for in terms of fragility is this area back here in the back. This is where it connects into Silverbolt for his ramp mode. I don't have too many cases of it breaking, but I do know the one that is included with the Combaticon Onslaught is particularly fragile. So I always advise fellow Transformer collectors for any ramp, always keep an eye on that. And then of course each of the little guys came with a gun. This is the gun for air raid. This is the gun for skydive. This is Slingshot's gun. And this double-barreled one goes to Fireflight. So you see, Silverbolt, you can see here, Superion really doesn't have a whole lot of parts. So that makes him relatively easy to get on the market. But you can imagine the biggest pains to find would be those 4 aerial bot guns. Now let's take a look at the instructions for Superion. The first thing we've got is the little small set, the abridged version that came with all of the small guys. You can kind of see they did a rather short version of the instructions. Of course, then there's the fun part here. Aerial bots are interchangeable and form any arm or leg of Superion. That was more of a specialty gimmick used in the Japanese media. Apparently, they could call out scramble and their limbs would switch. Supposedly that gave them different abilities or allowed them to escape from grapples, all sorts of stuff. It's a gimmick that was never really played up upon in the American version, but it did allow us kids to be a little bit more creative with how we built the larger toy. Now, of course, this is the part where I would show you also the gift set instructions. Here's the American set, or at least this allows you to see the cover of the American set. I got a better one that I'm going to show off to you, folks. It's pretty much exactly the same, but this is the Canadian version of the gift set instructions, since it's printed in both English and French. This was a special set that was sent to me last Christmas by my friend Emma. Hi! Emma bought these on eBay from a dealer in Canada, and they were sent to her where she lives in the UK. So they traveled the long way from Canada to the UK. Then she sent them here to me in the States, so they left from the UK down to France, and then across the pond, as they would say, over to New York, and then eventually here to me. So you've got a set of instructions that have circumnavigated the globe. Doesn't mean much to a lot of you, but I thought you'd find it as a cute story. Anyway, let's open these bad boys up here. Now, one nice thing in here about this is that it does tell you exactly what each jet is. So that's a nice little detail. And then we go into how to transform Silverbolt. And then we get Slingshot. And then, whoops, Butterfingers. And we got Fireflight. And then we got Air Raid here. Finish it off, we have Skydive. And then down beneath it here, we build the launching ramp mode for Silverbolt. And then now all the fun part, putting on all these stickers. Thankfully, as you can see, each guy is individually labeled, so that helps. And right above it there is about clipping and saving your robot points. Find the rub sign, and read the tech specs. And then, of course, you get the abridged version again of the assembly instructions of Superion. I call these abridged because of the fact they only show you how to transform one guy, whereas on a lot of the others, even if it was the same, you still get to see both of them being transformed. So this one's kind of an oddity. Leaves you to believe Superion was probably the first one that they brought over, and then they started revamping them for the other toys. Alright, so that gets the instructions looked at. Now this would be where I show you the tech specs, but I got a special treat for those. While I have yet to acquire a gift set box, thanks to a deal my brother scored on eBay, we got the entire gift set of tech specs all together on one sheet. Now, before any of you think this is a cut and paste job, nope, this is the back side of it. There is no cutting and pasting on this. This was actually clipped off of the box in its entirety and was sold to us in its entirety like this. Now, as for five of these, we'll go over and compare them with their regular tech specs when we review each individual aerial bot. That way, for those of you who might be interested in if there's a variation, we'll show that off then and tell you how to notice the difference. But right now, the thing we want to look at is the one here in the bottom corner. So we'll bring it here a little closer to camera so it's easier to see it. It's got a picture of him. This would have been the same picture shown on the front of the box. Interesting how he can bend his legs like that. It's done up in red to show that he's with the Autobots. It lists him as an aerial bot. It gives his name as Superion, and his function is Air Warrior. His motto is, to live is to fight, to die is to stop. A fierce and frightful fighting machine, suppresses thought of the 5 aerial bots that comprise him, directs his thinking towards one purpose, destruction of Decepticons. Cold, aloof, flies at 800 miles per hour, range 5,800 miles, can demolish a battleship with one blow. Uses electrostatic discharger rifle. Difficult for him to adapt to new situations or be innovative due to limited mental functions. Interesting. Now we'll lay the decoder over it and let's take a look at his stats. It gives his strength as 10, his intelligence is 3, his speed is 8, his endurance is 10, his rank is 5, his courage is 10, his firepower is 8, and his skill is 7. So the real negative on Superion is that low intelligence score. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Superion? Superion is an interesting addition to the Autobot ranks, and he's always going to be one that many of the fans will want. An entire squad of flying Autobots, and even the Combiner mode itself is capable of flight. So that's an added bonus for Autobot air power. However, like the tech spec mentions of his limited mental capabilities, he isn't that great of being a combatant. I mean, they list him as an air warrior, and that gives him a little bit of an extra perk, but part of what helps him in being an air warrior is the fact that, as a combiner, he can take far more damage and punishment than a standard transformer. So that's what's helping him be great at being an air warrior. But in the terms of other battlefield effectiveness, he's pretty slow on that. And that makes him more of a liability than an asset if he can't keep up with changing battlefield conditions. The only other problems that I have with him is the way the toy is done. As you saw earlier, he is back heavy, very much so. It always has been. As a child, when I first got him, he was always a bit back heavy, and I'm guessing that over the years, due to play value, it's gotten a bit worse. He never used to topple over backwards like that as much, so finding one that could decently stand up on its own is going to be tricky, folks. I mean, if it's a thing you really, really want, you're going to have to seek it out, and you will likely have to pay a fair amount for it. But if you don't mind that and can find something and can use something around you to help keep him upright, then by all means, Superion is a worthy addition. I'm putting Superion in the middle tier. I know that's going to upset a few fans, since as an all-flying Autobot, he probably deserves the top tier slot, but I'm going against it due to him being pretty back heavy as a toy and his limited effectiveness in the theater of combat. However, I am giving him a lot of added points due to being an all-flying Autobot that saves him from being a bottom-tier toy, but it's not good enough to make him have the top tier when you've got such glaring flaws in him. So I would say he's a middle-tier character, folks. Certainly worthy of addition in your Transformer army, but not one you should really go out and jump at immediately. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Autobot Air Warrior Superion. If you liked the video, thumbs up it here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already. Please also consider liking this video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. What do you think of Superion? This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later for week 3 of Combiner Month.